children never even heard the sirens. One moment, laughter echoed through the orphanage halls. The next, silence, shattered by fire. A single streak of alien light fell from the sky, tearing innocents apart in a blaze that lit the night red. The invaders thought it was just another strike. Another reminder that Earth was weak, that humanity could be cowed with fear. But they miscalculated. They struck not soldiers, not generals, not armies. They struck our children. Whispers of the atrocity spread faster than light. Across colonies, across shattered cities, across hidden bunkers, the same realization burned in every human heart. They will pay. Grief hardened into fury. The tears of mothers, the screams of the orphaned, the silence of the graves, each became a weapon. Sharper than steel, heavier than stone. Humanity had been fragile, fractured, scattered. But in that moment, every wound, every scar, every ounce of suffering forged us into something else. Something relentless, something the galaxy had never seen before. The day Earth's orphanage burned was the day humanity stopped pleading for peace. It was the day we declared war. And the universe, though vast and merciless, would soon learn the cost of awakening humanity's wrath. But tell me, when the smallest, most fragile of species decides to fight with nothing left to lose, what force in the galaxy could possibly stand against it? The orphanage had always been a place of fragile light in a darkening world. Its walls were patched with mismatched metal. Its windows rattled whenever the orbital defense cannons fired test shots, and its roof leaked when the acid rains came. Yet somehow within those walls life persisted. Children painted stars on cracked plaster. Caretakers hummed lullabies over the static of failing power generators. To outsiders it was nothing, just another crumbling building on a scarred Earth. But to the children, who slept on cots lined up like soldiers, and to the weary men and women who kept them fed, it was everything. A reminder that even in ruin, humanity clung to hope. Among them was Mara, a caretaker whose voice was softer than the storm winds outside. She had survived the fall of New London, carried her younger brother across continents, and now poured what was left of her strength into tending these children. She taught them old songs, stories of oceans they had never seen, skies they might never fly. Her smile carried weight, for it was forged from grief, and the children loved her for it. And then there was Jonas, a former soldier who had once walked away from the endless wars. His hands were calloused, his back bent from labor, but in the evenings, he repaired toys out of scavenged wires and broken drones. The children adored him. To them, he was proof that soldiers could still be gentle. For a brief, flickering moment, life felt almost normal. Children's laughter mixed with the hum of heaters. Tiny hands clutched handmade dolls. Fragile joy pushed back against despair. Humanity, small as it was, still breathed, but outside those fragile walls, the galaxy stirred. High above, alien warships drifted like shadows against the stars, their movements silent but deliberate. Scouts whispered of enemy fleets massing near Saturn's orbit. Radio intercepts carried threats, cruel and cold, reminders that Earth was tolerated, not respected. Humanity was weak, fractured, easy prey. The children did not know. They traced constellations with their fingers on fogged windows. They built castles out of scrap metal and cardboard. They dreamed of futures that, unknown to them, were hanging by a thread. Mara noticed the silence in the skies at night, the way birds no longer migrated, the way the stars seemed sharper, as though the heavens themselves were watching. Jonas caught the static in his old comms device, encrypted signals flickering like distant thunder. Both said nothing to the children. Why burden them with fear when their laughter was all that kept the darkness at bay? But fear has a way of bleeding into even the most stubborn hope. The children whispered of strange lights on the horizon, of shadows that didn't belong. The adults pretended not to hear, but inside they knew. Something was coming. Still, humanity endured as it always had, fragile, scarred, but unbroken. For all their scars, they were still human, and that meant something. It always had. What no one knew, not Mara, not Jonas, not even the commanders scattered across the colonies, was that the enemy had already chosen its next target. Not a fortress, not a fleet, not a general, an orphanage. A place where innocence lived, and where its destruction would echo louder than any battlefield. The storm was already on its way. If you believe these fragile moments of humanity are worth fighting for, subscribe now, because this story is only just beginning. The first strike came without warning. Night had barely fallen when the sky tore open with a scream of fire. Jonas was repairing a broken heating unit when the shockwave hurled him against the wall. Windows shattered inward, children shrieked, and the ground trembled as though the earth itself had been wounded. Mara ran to the dormitory, clutching 2 children to her chest as the air filled with smoke and dust. Outside, the horizon burned, a column of light searing upward where the defense grid had stood moments ago. Humanity's shield, fragile though it was, had been ripped away in a single blow. Panic rippled across the settlement. Families rushed into bunkers. Soldiers scrambled to their stations, and every comm channel crackled with frantic voices. But above it all, the alien fleet descended, cold, precise, merciless. Massive vessels blotted out the stars, their hulls like obsidian monoliths, their weapons glowing like the breath of gods. Fear took root quickly. Everyone had heard the stories. Entire colonies erased, cities reduced to ash, survivors dragged into chains. But this was Earth, home, humanity's last sanctuary. Surely, even now, the enemy would hesitate. Surely they would show some restraint. They didn't. A second blast ripped across the district, leveling buildings and carving fire through the streets. People ran, tripping over rubble, clutching their children, screaming for help that would not come. Soldiers fired back with rifles that sparked harmlessly against alien armor. Even tanks, rumbling out from hidden garages, were swatted aside like insects. Jonas pulled Mara and the children into the basement of the orphanage. His hands shook, his chest ached, but his voice was steady. "Stay down. Don't move. I'll be back." The look in Mara's eyes begged him not to leave. But Jonas knew, if someone didn't fight, no one would survive. He climbed out into the smoke. The air tasted of iron and ozone. Above, alien dropships descended, unleashing soldiers with blades of plasma and eyes like empty voids. They moved with mechanical precision, slaughtering anyone in their path. Jonas fired an old rifle, each shot cracking against the night. But for every enemy he dropped, 2 more emerged from the shadows. The battle wasn't a battle at all. It was butchery. Across the city, command channels screamed chaos. "Sector 4 down. We've lost the grid. Orbital batteries offline." The enemy hadn't come to conquer. They had come to annihilate. And when the order filtered down, when humanity realized what target had been chosen next, silence fell across every channel. The orphanage. Jonas heard it. Mara heard it. Even the children, though they couldn't understand, felt the sudden dread in the air. They huddled together, clutching blankets, staring at the shaking walls. Mara tried to sing to them, her voice trembling, the melody broken by sobs. The enemy had calculated with cruel precision. They wanted to break humanity not with the fall of armies, but with the death of innocence. To burn away the last reason we had to believe in tomorrow. And for a moment it almost worked. Fear sank deep. Soldiers hesitated. Leaders faltered. Civilians wept, paralyzed by grief before the flames had even reached them. But something shifted. As reports of the bombing spread, so too did outrage. Across hidden bunkers, across starships waiting in silence, across colonies that had endured humiliation after humiliation, a spark caught fire. Fear became anger. Anger became fury. Fury became defiance. Jonas saw it in the eyes of the soldiers beside him. Men and women who moments ago had been breaking, now clenched their jaws and raised their weapons. If humanity was doomed, then it would not die quietly. Mara felt it as she held the children. She no longer sang lullabies. She whispered promises. "They will not take you. Not while I live." Everywhere, resistance surged. Traps hidden beneath rubble detonated, bringing down alien walkers. Pilots launched crippled starfighters into hopeless dogfights, choosing to burn bright rather than fade. Farmers armed with hunting rifles joined the defense lines. Civilians formed chains to carry the wounded, refusing to abandon each other. The enemy pressed harder. For every act of defiance, 100 more humans fell. Cities burned. Oceans boiled beneath orbital strikes. Entire nations screamed and then went silent. And yet, humanity would not kneel. Jonas fought until his rifle clicked empty. He tore a blade from a fallen alien and swung it with desperate strength. Blood and smoke blinding him. He fell, rose, fell again. And still he would not stop. Somewhere far above, commanders debated retreat. Others argued surrender, but the memory of the orphanage held them in place. The atrocity had become more than tragedy. It was a call to arms. Humanity could not forgive. Humanity would not forget. Across the stars, scattered fleets began to converge. Old grudges dissolved. Rival colonies sent what ships they could, even the broken, the starving. The abandoned, every human who could lift a weapon swore the same oath. If the galaxy wanted humanity erased, then humanity would answer with war. Totava. The orphanage still burned. Smoke rose into the night, black against the stars. Children wept. Mothers screamed. Fathers bled out in silence. But even in that inferno, something greater was born. Not surrender, not despair, but unity. And with unity came a question the enemy had never asked themselves. What happens when prey stops running and decides to fight? The answer was coming, and the galaxy wasn't ready for it. If you feel humanity's fire rising, share this story. Let the galaxy hear the roar. The galaxy thought humanity would scatter. Instead, we gathered. Fleets that had once ignored each other. Scrap haulers, colony patrols, refugee barges rushed toward Earth. Pilots climbed into half-broken cockpits, whispering goodbyes to families they would never see again. Soldiers painted the names of fallen loved ones onto their armor. Civilians volunteered as gunners, engineers, and medics. It didn't matter if the ships were relics or patched-together wrecks. Humanity had only one command now: fight. Above Earth, the alien fleet stretched across the void, vast and merciless. Their ships gleamed like blades drawn against the night. Against them, humanity looked like gnats. Tiny vessels, old hulls, weapons barely functional. 1,000 reasons to surrender. 1,000 reasons to kneel. And yet, none did. When the human fleet dropped out of FTL, the comms lit up with one message, carried across every channel: for the children. It began as a whisper, then a chant, then a roar. Entire crews shouted it, entire squadrons carried it, until the words themselves became a weapon. The aliens listened in silence, their scanners recording the noise of defiance, but they did not understand. They had never known what it meant to fight for something greater than survival. The first clash came brutal and fast. Alien destroyers cut through humanity's vanguard, shredding dozens of ships in a single barrage. Fire bloomed in the void. Screams filled the comms. Entire families, entire histories vanished in seconds. But humanity did not retreat. Jonas, battered and half-broken, manned the guns of a gunship that had once been a cargo hauler. His hands shook. His body screamed with pain, but his eyes were steady. He fired until the barrels overheated, until his vision blurred, until all he could hear was the pounding of his own heart. Mara, her arms wrapped around the surviving children in a shelter beneath the city, whispered prayers into the dark. She did not know if the fleet above would win. But she knew this, even in fire. Humanity had already chosen its path. And then something miraculous. A colony ship long thought lost emerged from hyperspace. Its engines flared bright, and strapped across its broken hull were stolen alien weapons, cannibalized into makeshift cannons. Its captain broadcast only one phrase: Earth stands. We stand with her. Cheers erupted across the human fleet. Reinforcements poured in, ships from Mars, from the Belt, from scattered outposts thought abandoned. Humanity was fractured no longer. The enemy had bombed an orphanage, and in doing so, they had given birth to something they could not contain. The battle turned desperate, chaotic. Alien cruisers unleashed firestorms that split oceans and cracked continents. Human frigates rammed them head-on, detonating their cores to bring down giants. Every hour, thousands died. Every minute, another city fell. But every second, the flame of resistance grew brighter. The galaxy watched. Other species tuned into the battle feeds, expecting humanity's extinction. Instead, they witnessed something else. A species too stubborn to die, too furious to bow, too united to be erased. The aliens began to falter. For every human ship destroyed, 3 more emerged from the shadows. For every orphan lost, 10 soldiers screamed vengeance. Humanity had no empire, no ancient technology, no overwhelming might. But they were furious. They had unity. They had purpose. And against that, even the strongest fleet in the galaxy began to bend. Jonas saw his ship crippled, fire racing along its hull. The captain barked an order: abandon vessel. But Jonas refused. Instead, he locked onto a massive enemy cruiser, a leviathan that had butchered entire cities. He overrode the safeties, sealed himself inside, and pushed the engines to their limits. The last transmission from Jonas carried no fear, no regret, only defiance. For the children, his ship became a spear of fire. It rammed the alien cruiser broadside. The explosion lit the void, brighter than dawn. For a heartbeat, it seemed as if the entire galaxy paused to watch. When the fire faded, the cruiser was gone. So was Jonas. But his sacrifice was not in vain. The tide shifted. Humanity roared, pressing forward with reckless fury. Alien ships broke formation. Their commanders, once confident, now panicked. They had underestimated the one force they could never truly defeat: human resolve. On the ground, Mara felt the tremors as alien bombardments slowed. She looked at the children, filthy, trembling, but alive, and whispered through her tears, "He bought you a future." The battle stretched into the endless night. Sacrifice piled upon sacrifice. Humanity bled, burned, shattered, and yet they endured. For the orphanage, for Earth, for the promise that no child's laughter would ever be silenced again. When the alien fleet finally broke and fled into the dark, silence fell across the comms. No one cheered. No one celebrated. There was only exhaustion, grief, and the weight of what had been lost. But through that silence, one truth remained undeniable. Humanity had stood. Humanity had fought. And humanity had won not because of strength, but because of will. The image burned into the galaxy's memory was not of fleets clashing or cities burning. It was the fireball of one broken ship, carrying one broken man, ramming into a titan and proving that even the smallest spark can ignite the stars. And so the question remains, if humanity, wounded and fragile, could rise from the ashes of an orphanage to defy the universe itself, what happens when we finally stand together, not just to survive, but to conquer? If this climax gave you goosebumps, drop a comment below. How would you have stood in humanity's last stand? The war was not a victory. It was survival, bought in blood. When the smoke cleared and the alien fleet retreated into the void, Earth was unrecognizable. Cities lay in ruins. Oceans boiled where orbital strikes had scarred them, and countless graves stretched across shattered ground. The air reeked of ash and sorrow. Humanity had stood, yes, but the cost was carved into every face, every silence, every empty chair. In the ruins of the orphanage, children clung to Mara's arms. Their laughter was gone, replaced by quiet questions no one should ever have to ask. Why us? Why did they hate us? Mara had no answers. She could only hold them, her heart breaking, and whisper the only truth she knew. Because we are human. And that is enough. Across the colonies, across the stars, stories spread of Earth's stand. Pilots who had flown broken ships into impossible battles. Soldiers who had fought until their last breath. Civilians who had carried the wounded through fire. And Jonas, the man who turned a crippled gunship into a spear, striking down a monster that had slaughtered thousands. His name was spoken with reverence, not as legend, but as proof. Proof that even one human life could change the fate of worlds. The galaxy had watched, expecting humanity's extinction. Instead, they witnessed our fury, our unity, our refusal to bow. And in that refusal, the balance shifted. We were no longer prey, no longer background noise in the songs of greater empires. We had carved our place into the stars, not with diplomacy, not with wealth, but with sacrifice and fire. But make no mistake, the scars remained. Billions were gone. Entire nations reduced to whispers. The orphanage would never ring with children's laughter again. And yet, even in grief, there was something unbreakable. Humanity had proven that it would not vanish quietly into the void. A council was formed, uniting colonies and factions that had once been enemies. Fleets were rebuilt, defenses strengthened. No longer would Earth stand alone. No longer would humanity fight fractured. Out of tragedy, unity had been forged. Out of fire, a legacy was born. And as the galaxy watched, they began to whisper a question once unthinkable. If humanity could rise from ashes and wounds to defy an empire, what will they become when they finally heal? The answer was not spoken. It did not need to be. It was written in every scarred survivor's eyes. It was carved into the ruins of cities that still stood. It was etched into the stars, carried on the memory of children lost and heroes risen. We are human. We endure. We fight. And though the orphanage is gone, its fire burns on in every heart, in every breath, in every defiant step into the unknown. The universe will remember the day Earth's children were taken. The universe will remember the day humanity declared war. And the universe will never forget what came after. Because from that day forward, every empire, every conqueror, every predator in the stars knew one truth too terrible to ignore. Humanity does not break. Humanity burns. And in the darkness of the galaxy, our fire will never die. If this ending gave you goosebumps, like, subscribe, and share this story so humanity's fire never fades.